It's rare that I don't have my hat on, so enjoy. Tabitha, do you want to kind of kick us off?
Let's get started. So what is Night Owl Nation? Night Owl Nation is a community of entrepreneurs and creators who practice storytelling together. This practice helps us to think critically, learn more about ourselves, and communicate our ideas to the world. Our mission is to make education truly scalable and affordable for all creators around the world. We do this through peer-to-peer learning.
What I realized is that all these people, like Mr. Nick, Steve Jobs, whatever, they start with your why. Do what you love. Find your passion. Or people talk about your hero's moment. I hit rock bottom, and that's when I realized, wow, like that story. None of those things are your brand. Just forget all of that shit. There are so many people who are doing amazing things in the world. They don't have a why, but they're still doing amazing things. Passion comes from you doing what you're good at and using that thing you're good at to help other people with it. Finally, hero's journey. Okay, my goal is to help you get unstuck. And then you start telling your story, right? Mel Robbins has the perfect unstuck story. How she found the 5-second rule and blah, blah, blah. There's no way you can compete with that because everybody has the same aha moment hero's journey story. Everybody's like, oh, I used to feel so stuck and blah, 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 until I hit rock bottom and until one day, and this is what happened. And now I found a life coach and like now I'm a life coach myself. Like everybody has that story. So there's no way you can compete if you're trying to use that as your brand story, right? What your brand is actually what makes you different. Like, how are you doing it differently than Jay Shetty? How are you doing it differently than Mel Robbins? So what I always say is whatever you did to change yourself and became successful, that's nurture. But nature is how you're going to be successful. If you look at like Steve Jobs versus Jeff Bezos, right? They're both successful because they're nurture. But Apple and Amazon are two very, very different companies. They're both wildly successful companies. If Steve Jobs was trying to build a company like Amazon, that would have failed. If Jeff Bezos was trying to build a company like Apple, that would have failed. So they both had natural instincts, and something they were naturally good at is the reason why Steve Jobs built Apple that way and Jeff Bezos built it that way. The thing is, so many people are focused on, oh, I need to find my perfect brand differentiator, brand message, and brand story. Like, none of those things matter if you're not actually delivering it. So first, you have to figure out, what am I delivering in my business? And then try to come up with a message that actually fits that, right? That's a reflection of what you're already doing. So brand is just a representation of who you already are. If you try to go against that, it's not going to work. Everyone's brand is lukewarm. Everybody wants to be the Steve Jobs, but they also want to be Jeff Bezos. Those things are contradictory. So there's no way you can be creative and responsible at the same time. You're either one or the other. You can't be a big picture guy and a perfectionist too. That just doesn't work. You're either the big picture guy who doesn't care about the details, or you're the low level detail person who's a perfectionist who's going to get everything perfectly done, but you're not a big picture guy, right? You can't be both. So many people are like, oh, I'm an introvert. I love like just sitting home and watching Netflix, but I love going out and socializing and, and I can network and stuff too. Like, no, you're not. To be an introvert means that you're not an extrovert. Because everybody's so fucking lukewarm, that's why everybody's brand sounds exactly the same. Because they don't actually know who the fuck they really are. Your personality actually determines how your business is going to be ran. You know what makes Steve Jobs? When he opened the New York City Apple store for the first time, because one stair was a little bit off, he had the company just rip out the whole thing and do the entire thing all over again. When he was building the first Macintosh, there's a signature of the entire Mac team inside the cover. And that's because he cares so much about the things that people don't even see. That's how much of a perfectionist he is. And that personality of his is what makes Apple Apple. And that's how your personality affects your business. This is the biggest mistake that people make. Don't try to be the next blank, right? Don't try to be the next Gary Vee. Don't try to be the next Tony Robbins. Don't try to be the next Mel Robbins. Don't try to be the next Jay Shetty. Be the first you. Just because something worked for somebody, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Don't try to be any of these people. Because if you're just being yourself, exactly the way you are, that's what people are going to be drawn to. And you can actually double down on that. So this is how you find the real you. What is the thing that you hate about yourself? Let's start there. Like I remember when I was young, my dad paid me $10 to wash the car. And what I did was I washed the car. And with the $10 that he gave me, I went to go buy an air freshener for the car. That's like a good example of how I don't give a fuck about money. I'm too generous. I'm a people pleaser. For whatever reason, that's my weakness. And I fucking hate it when people say that, son, you're too gullible. People are always taking advantage of you. But the thing is, that thing that I hate about myself, which triggers me whenever somebody says, is actually what makes me amazing at my job. because I go in these fucking hot seats, and even though it's supposed to be an hour, I just stick it out for 2 hours long. I won't fucking let you go until we solve that problem. That's why my podcast sometimes go to 2 hours. Like, that's why our small group leaders go to 2-3 hours sometimes. That's why I do these 3 hour long discovery sessions with my clients, because I won't fucking let you go until we find your brand story. So it's one of the things that makes me amazing at my job, that only I can do it. It's my generosity and all of that has got me where I am today. So the thing that I thought was my weakness actually was my biggest strength. So your assignment this week. So what are your biggest weaknesses that you believe? You're going to have to really dig into, like, drop your ego for this. Think of one or more 5-second moments where you felt like, oh, why am I like this? I hate that I'm so impulsive. I hate that I'm so stubborn. So think about all of those. Those are your weaknesses. Those are the things that you believe is your weakness, right? Think about those things, those 5-second moment that your personality has, like, affected you, like, in a negative way. Like, I hate that I'm so like this. And think of a 5-second moment where that same exact personality helped you. Like, oh, I hate that I'm so stubborn. But think of another moment where that stubbornness helped you. You need to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to be able to know how to utilize that for your business, right? I want you to really focus on the personality, and based on your personality, what is your weakness, your real weakness? And I want you to share those second moments in your small group. And then your small group leader will pick one assignment and share in circle and nominate for a hot seat. In order for your group members to nominate it, it has to have a clear 5-second moment, meaning what, when, where, and with who. And then clearly show how the same personality, oh shit, I don't care about money, and I was just like too generous and blah, 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 how it helped me, how that personality is of both weakness and strength. Like, I have to be able to clearly see that. If you have any questions about this week's assignment, if you need any help, come to Monday Masterclass tomorrow to get help. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern. And assignment hot seats, if you get nominated, next Saturday at 7 a.m., 7 p.m. I hope to see all of you next week. Bye, everyone. Bye, Franco. Bye, Astrid. Bye, Chester. Bye, Jaishri. Bye, Della. Bye, George. Bye, Candia.